We all have a silent enemy, and it doesn't come from the outside. It's not your boss or your family. It's inside you, your negative thoughts. That voice whispering, "You can't, it's too hard," or "You're going to fail." And the worst part is, if you let it, it ends up taking control of your life. But listen, today, those negative thoughts stop ruling you. Today you destroy them using Stoicism as your weapon, along with clear techniques to take back control of your mind. Stay until the end, and you'll see how to turn those thoughts into allies instead of executioners. But before we dive in, here's a challenge for you. If that negative voice has ever held you back, subscribe right now and join this community where we're learning to silence it together. And tell me in the comments, what negative thought are you putting in its place starting today? And if you're not sure what to write, just leave this phrase: "Today I'm in charge, not my thoughts." Ready to begin? Let's go. The first thing I want to share with you today is the story of a man who, even when the entire world tried to crush him, never allowed his own mind to become his enemy. His life was living proof that if you learn to master your thoughts, no blow of fate can ever break you. When the ship left the harbor, the wind blew with a force that seemed to mock him. Rome was now behind him. His speeches in the Senate, his days of glory, his most loyal students, all of it fading into the distant sound of the sea. He had been exiled, accused of conspiracies that had never existed. To many, this man had fallen from grace, but anyone who looked closely would have noticed something different. There was no anger on his face, no despair in his eyes. There was serenity. On the deck, as the soldiers escorted him, one of them couldn't hold back his curiosity. "How can you be so calm? You've lost everything." He slowly turned his head and replied, "Everything that truly matters, my friend, travels with me. My mind, my judgment, my virtue, none of that can be exiled." On the island, the first few months were hard. The weather was harsh, the food scarce, and the loneliness weighed on him like a stone. But every morning before the sun rose, that man walked along the coast. He watched the sea, breathed deeply, and repeated silently to himself, "This does not destroy me, it trains me." While others in his place would have been consumed, he saw in every wave a lesson. He could not change the wind, but he could adjust his sails. Some locals, watching him walk every day with the same calm, began to approach. At first, out of curiosity, later, seeking advice. A fisherman, frustrated because his net kept breaking week after week, heard him say, "Do not curse the sea for not giving you what you expect. Learn to weave a better net." A woman, devastated by the loss of her son, found comfort when he told her, "Nothing outside of you can take away your capacity to love." The messages he shared were the reflection of a mind that refused to be enslaved by hatred, fear, or misfortune. Years passed, and when he was finally allowed to return, many were surprised by what they saw. He was not the defeated man they had imagined, but someone wiser, calmer, and above all, freer. He had lost power, wealth, and recognition, but in the process he had conquered something far greater: mastery over his mind, complete control of his thoughts. His name was Seneca, and though they exiled him from the empire, they never managed to exile his mind. If this story made you reflect, consider subscribing so we can keep learning together, because now it's time for the Stoic lessons that will teach you how to overcome negative thoughts. Let's begin. 1. Discover where your storm begins. Imagine for a moment that your mind is like a house with open windows. Every thought that passes by is like a gust of wind blowing in without asking permission. Some are refreshing, others bring dust, and the most damaging ones stir up a hurricane that throws everything into chaos. That's how negative thoughts work. They slip in slowly, settle down, and if you don't catch them, they end up taking over your life. The key isn't to seal up the house entirely. It's to learn which winds you want to let in. Now tell me, what do you think Marcus Aurelius's house was like? I'm not talking about marble or columns. I'm talking about that other house he lived in every day, his mind. He wrote in his meditations that, The life of a man is what his thoughts make of it. That was his way of reminding himself that if he didn't guard what came through the windows of his mind, he'd end up living in ruins. Think about it. What's weighing on you today didn't start outside. It started inside. It wasn't your coworker's comment or the train delay that ruined your day. It was the interpretation you gave to that comment or that delay. That's where your storm began. Epictetus put it bluntly. It's not things themselves that disturb people, but the opinions they have about those things. That's the root of your inner enemy. Negativity doesn't come from outside. It's created within. That's why, if you want to control your negative thoughts, the first step is to trace where they come from. Seneca also left us a golden warning. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. What does that mean? That your negative thoughts often anticipate disasters that don't even exist. You brace for a catastrophe that will probably never come, and in doing so, you lose today's peace. My friend, think about this. How many times have you punished yourself more for what you imagined than for what actually happened? It's like living through the same pain twice. One imagined and one real. And the first one, you inflicted on yourself. And this is where modern psychology backs the idea even further. Aaron Beck, one of the fathers of cognitive therapy, proved that many of our intense emotions come from cognitive distortions. These are exaggerated or unrealistic interpretations of what's happening. In other words, your mind creates a monster out of a shadow. The trick is to catch that distortion in the moment and shine the light of reason on it. So, how does this work in real life? Start by observing. Every time you feel a knot in your stomach or a wave of sadness out of nowhere, stop for a second and ask yourself, what was I just thinking? That moment is the clue that reveals the origin of the storm. Most of the time, you'll realize that what's upsetting you isn't what happened. It's the movie your mind started playing without your permission. Once that's clear, the next step is to question the thought. Is what I'm telling myself really true? Do I have proof, or is this just a suspicion dressed up as truth? Let's say you think, I'm definitely going to fail this presentation. If you look at it head on, you'll realize there's no way to know that. It's a made-up story, not a fact. And when you unmask that lie, it's time to flip it. This isn't about repeating empty phrases or pretending everything's perfect. It's about replacing that destructive voice with one that's fair and realistic. Instead of saying, I'm definitely going to fail, try, I'm going to give it my best, and that already matters. That small shift changes the way you face the situation. A great ally in this process is journaling. You don't have to write pages and pages. Just jot down at the end of the day the thoughts that made the most noise in your head. On paper, they no longer look like monsters. They turn into sentences you can observe from the outside. Marcus Aurelius did this every night. He reviewed what had passed through his mind, like someone checking their house before going to sleep, making sure nothing was out of place. And here's something key I want you to notice. Controlling your negative thoughts isn't about repressing them or pretending they don't exist. It's about bringing them into the light, understanding them, and stripping them of the power they have over you. It's like turning on a flashlight in a dark room. Suddenly, what looked like a thief turns out to be just a shadow on the wall. So next time you catch yourself trapped in a spiral of negativity, don't just endure it. Ask yourself the Stoic question, does this depend on me or not? If it doesn't depend on you, let it go. If it does, take action. That one distinction can bring you peace in seconds. My friend, every storm starts with a small cloud. If you catch it in time, it never becomes a hurricane. Your negative thoughts don't rule you. The first step is discovering where they begin, and from there, you take back the power of your mind. 2. Fear isn't a wall, it's a door. Have you ever noticed how fear works in your mind? It shows up like a huge wall standing in front of you. It convinces you that you can't get past it, that it's too risky, that there's nothing certain on the other side. So you freeze, trapped, convinced that wall is real. But listen, fear isn't a wall, it's a door in disguise, and if you dare to push it, you'll see it was never really locked. The Stoics understood fear differently than we tend to see it today. They didn't see it as an enemy to destroy, but as a teacher to listen to. Epictetus taught that the problem isn't what we fear, it's the judgment we place on what scares us. And he was right. When you imagine the worst, when you keep repeating in your head that you won't be able to handle it, you're not seeing reality. You're seeing a distorted reflection of your mind. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're offered an opportunity at work to give a talk in front of all your coworkers. Part of you knows it could be a huge step, something that might open new doors. But another part starts spinning stories. I'm going to freeze. They're going to laugh at me. If I mess up, no one will ever trust me again. The fear isn't in the presentation. It's in the thoughts your mind creates. And the more you feed them, the bigger that invisible monster grows. Marcus Aurelius said it with striking clarity. If something external causes you distress, the pain doesn't come from the thing itself, but from your estimate of it. And this, you have the power to revoke at any moment. That quote is a powerful reminder. Fear doesn't have a life of its own. It feeds off the meaning you give it. So, what do you do with fear when it feels all too real? The Stoics practiced something called premeditatio malorum, the exercise of anticipating the worst that could happen. But not as a form of mental torture. It was a way to prepare themselves. If you imagine the worst-case scenario and still realize you can endure it, fear starts to lose its grip. It's like seeing the actor behind the curtain and realizing it was just a costume all along. When fear starts to overwhelm you, remember what psychologist Susan Jeffers said. Fear will never go away, but you can learn to go on in spite of it. When you take even a small step toward what you're afraid of, fear begins to shrink. Action is literally a sedative for anxiety. Why? Because the mind stops imagining and starts experiencing. And reality is almost never as terrifying as the version your mind created. Think about it. Do you remember the first time you drove alone? You probably felt like you couldn't do it, like everything was going to go wrong. Fear was in the passenger seat, but once you drove a few miles, you realized you could handle it. The fear got smaller. That's what happens in almost every situation. Fear fades as soon as you act. Don't think that managing fear means getting rid of it. No one lives without fear. What changes is your relationship with it. The Stoics didn't aim to be brave because they felt nothing, but because they acted in spite of what they felt. Courage doesn't show up before the leap, it comes after. It's the reward for moving forward when your mind screamed at you to stand still. My friend, here's the big secret. Fear always points to something. It might be a real threat, like the roar of a wild animal, or it might be a hidden opportunity, like that project you know could change your life. The challenge is knowing which is which. And most of the time, what you're feeling isn't danger, it's growth. So every time fear tries to paralyze you, look it straight in the eye and ask, what's really behind this door? Maybe it's a new job, a more honest relationship, a change you've been putting off for too long. Fear doesn't have to be a chain. It can be the compass pointing to where you need to go. Remember, your negative thoughts don't rule you, and when they show up dressed as fear, they don't rule you either. You decide whether to stay frozen in front of the wall or push open the door. Fear doesn't vanish, but every time you face it, it gets smaller. Now I want to hear from you. What trick do you use to push through those moments when fear tries to hold you back? Share it in the comments. Your experience might give strength to someone else who needs it today. 3. Think like a disciple of Epictetus. Let me tell you the story of Lucia. She worked as a lawyer in a big firm with workdays that seemed never-ending. From the outside, anyone would have said she had everything under control: professional success, stability, recognition. But inside her mind, the reality was completely different. Every time she made the smallest mistake in a report, she would tell herself, "I'm a mess. I'll never be good enough. Sooner or later, they'll all see I'm worthless." No one at her office treated her that way. Not her bosses, not her co-workers. It was her own voice beating her down, day after day. One day, almost by accident, a little book of quotes from Epictetus landed in her hands. And on one of those pages, she found an idea that made her stop in her tracks. It's not things themselves that disturb us, but the opinions we have about them. That line hit her like a bolt of lightning. She realized that what dragged her down the most wasn't her mistakes. It was the harsh judgment she placed on herself afterward. In that moment, she understood she could start thinking like a disciple of Epictetus, and that simple decision could completely change the way she spoke to herself every single day. Lucia learned so much from the Stoics, and so can you. They taught us that the mind isn't destroyed from the outside, it's destroyed from within. Marcus Aurelius wrote it with disarming clarity. The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. And it makes sense. Think about this. If you spend all day repeating to yourself that you're not enough, it's like walking around with invisible weights on your back. From the outside, no one may notice. But every step feels heavier, and every decision more uncertain. My friend, it's time to take control of those automatic negative thoughts. Those phrases that pop into your head uninvited and slowly become the filter through which you see everything. It's like putting on dark glasses. No matter how bright the sun shines, everything looks dim. And here's the most dangerous part. The way you speak to yourself shapes your future. Until you bring the unconscious to the surface, it will keep running your life, and you'll call it fate. What you repeat silently doesn't stay silent. It affects your emotions, your decisions, and the opportunities you give yourself, or don't. Let me give you a simple mental exercise. Imagine saying out loud to a friend the things you say to yourself. Every time you mess up and think, "I'm useless," imagine saying that to someone you care about. It sounds absurd, doesn't it? So then, why do you allow yourself to talk that way to yourself? The Stoics practiced the art of questioning their thoughts. They didn't accept everything their minds came up with. They analyzed it, broke it down, and turned it into a lesson. Seneca put it simply, "To err is human. Mistakes are part of life. What's unnatural is turning them into a whip to punish yourself with every day." My friend, beating yourself up doesn't make you wiser. It just wears you down. What's truly stoic is learning from the mistake and moving forward lighter. Here's a powerful habit you can start practicing today. Every time you catch yourself thinking something negative, don't ignore it or try to cover it with empty affirmations. Write it down, put it in front of you and ask, "Does this help me or drag me down?" Then change the tune. Replace the destructive phrase with one that gives you strength, without pretending. It's not about going from "I never do anything right" to "I'm perfect." It's about something more real and healthy. I'm learning and every step counts. That subtle shift changes how you see things, and eventually it changes your whole life. Marcus Aurelius did something similar in his nightly writings. He didn't just repeat kind thoughts. He faced his doubts, his fears, his mistakes, and turned them into reminders to live better the next day. That's what it means to speak to yourself like a Stoic, with discipline, but also with compassion. And let me tell you, don't expect it to happen overnight. Changing the way you speak to yourself takes practice, patience, and daily awareness. But every time you choose a kind word over an insult toward yourself, you're recalibrating your inner compass and clearing the path ahead. Your negative thoughts don't rule you. Start giving yourself the same respect you'd give to someone you love, and you'll see your mind stop being a battlefield and start becoming a place of strength and calm. Or, you are not your thoughts. You are what you choose to be. Picture an ordinary day. Your alarm goes off, and the very first thought that crosses your mind is, "I won't be able to handle everything today." Before you've even gotten out of bed, you've already loaded your backpack with a thought that drains your energy. You rush out the door, run to catch the train, and suddenly you're on the wrong platform. That inner voice kicks in instantly. "You always do this. You never pay attention." That phrase, small as it may seem, already starts to stain your day like a drop of ink in clear water. You get to work, and during a meeting, you try to lighten the mood with a quick joke. No one laughs, and your mind doesn't waste a second. Just shut up. You're not funny. Everyone thinks you're awkward. Later, you make a tiny mistake in a report or an email, and the voice repeats itself, "You're useless. You messed it up again." If you look closely, these thoughts don't describe reality. They're more like annoying ads interrupting your favorite show. Loud, constant, and misleading. See what's happening? The event itself is small, but your mind blows it out of proportion and turns it into your identity. That's the real problem. Not the mistake, but the story you tell yourself afterward. And the Stoics already knew this. Seneca put it powerfully, "A man is disturbed not by events, but by his opinion of them." It's not the wrong train, the bad joke, or the typo that brings you down. It's that you choose to believe those moments define you. And to show you it's not as hard as it seems, think about Hypatia of Alexandria. Picture her walking through the dusty streets of her city, surrounded by students who came to learn from her. While she taught math and philosophy, there were many who whispered behind her back that she didn't belong there, that school wasn't her place, that her voice didn't matter. In such a hostile world, those words could have cut like knives. Can you imagine how easy it would have been to believe them? If she had accepted that noise as truth, she would have shrunk to fit the role others tried to impose on her. But Hypatia did the opposite. Instead of identifying with those voices, she chose what truly defined her: her thinking, her ability to teach, her passion for knowledge. So every time those external criticisms tried to label her, she responded with the only thing she could control: her mind and her actions. Here's the key. Hypatia wasn't what others said about her. She wasn't even the doubts that might have whispered to her at night. She was what she did with her reason and her life. Just like you are not that fleeting thought that pops up when you stumble in a meeting or catch your reflection on a rough day. You are what you choose to do with that voice, whether you let it drag you down or respond with clarity. My friend, let me ask you something. Would you let a stranger walk into your home and insult you non-stop? Then why do you let your own mind do that to you? The answer lies in remembering what Seneca said. Those who are ruled by destructive thoughts are more enslaved than someone in chains. True freedom begins when you stop identifying with those passing voices. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, kept reminding himself that the mind should be like a fortress. He said that no insult or external misfortune can breach the walls unless you open the door yourself. Isn't that exactly how negative thoughts work? They show up like urgent messengers, but they only enter and settle in if you let them. Your inner stronghold depends on your ability to choose what comes in and what doesn't. So here's the challenge. The next time a negative thought pops up during your day, do what a Stoic would do. Don't accept it as truth. Observe it like a passenger on a train. It can talk, it can make noise, but it's not the one driving. You're the driver. That's the difference between letting your life be dragged around by mental noise or steering it with clarity. My friend, shadows will always stretch long at the end of the day, but they only look bigger because the sun is behind them. Once you realize that, you see they're not giants, just distorted shapes. The same goes for negative thoughts. They seem huge until you look at them directly. Hypatia, facing a world determined to tell her what she couldn't be, chose to answer, "I am what I think with clarity, not what others try to impose on me." Do the same. Don't confuse yourself with the shadows your mind projects. You are not your thoughts, you are the person who chooses what to do with them. 5. Clean your mind like a Stoic. Tell me, how many times have you gotten stuck in a thought you know leads nowhere? How many times have you repeated it like an echo, even though it only makes you feel smaller and weaker? Now think, do you really believe a Stoic like Marcus Aurelius would have tolerated living like that, clinging to something that only held him back? Of course not. If an idea didn't serve him in living with clarity, he let it go. You have the same option. Every thought you keep inside is like an object you've chosen to hold on to in your house. Some are useful, others are not. And yet, you keep carrying them around, even though they drain your energy and keep you stuck. Why? Out of habit? Out of fear of letting go? Picture walking into a room full of things you no longer use, clothes that no longer fit, papers you'll never read again, objects just gathering dust in the corners. At first, maybe you don't notice, but over time it gets harder to move. You run out of space for new things, and even the air starts to feel heavy. That's exactly how it works with thoughts that no longer serve you. They pile up inside, cloud your clarity, and make everything feel heavier than it needs to. Marcus Aurelius understood this, and he repeated it to himself in meditations. A man's life is what his thoughts make of it. If your thoughts are old, harmful, or limiting, your life is being built on fragile foundations. The beautiful thing is, you're not doomed to live in that cluttered house. You have the option to clean it, to open the windows, and let in fresh air. Think about a normal day. Mid-morning, you remember a mistake you made last week at work. It doesn't change anything to dwell on it, but your mind keeps looping. I'm not good at this. I always mess up. Later, someone doesn't reply to your message, and you start thinking, they're ignoring me. I probably don't matter. Then, at night before bed, another thought shows up, one you know all too well. I'll never change. I'll always be this way. The Stoics chose which thoughts were allowed to stay in their minds. Epictetus taught that when a thought comes in, you must examine it like a coin to see if it's real or fake. If it's useful, it stays. If not, it's put aside. That simple act of evaluating is a form of mental cleansing. And it's not some ancient theory. You can do it right now with every thought that holds you back. Seneca warned about this too. Those who cling to things without value end up losing what truly matters. And your mind works the same way. If you fill it with useless thoughts, you miss the chance to live with peace and direction. So how can you clean your mind? Don't expect it to happen all at once, just like you don't tidy an entire house in 5 minutes. It happens little by little with consistency. The Stoics had a clear habit, ending the day by reviewing what they had thought and done. Marcus Aurelius wrote it down in his journals. Seneca did it in letters to his friends. And you can do it too. At the end of your day, sit down for a moment and write out 2 columns. In one, jot down the thoughts that weighed you down. I'm not good enough. I always mess things up. I can't do this. In the other, rewrite them in a way that's more fair and helpful. This isn't about magical phrases. It's about practical reminders. For example, today wasn't perfect, but I made progress. Or, there's room for growth and that makes me stronger. And don't leave it on the page. Tomorrow, when a similar thought shows up, use your new phrase as a response. That's how you clean your mind. Not by pushing the old thoughts into a corner, but by replacing them with something clearer and stronger. My friend, don't confuse cleaning your mind with pretending everything's fine. This isn't about empty affirmations or denying how you feel. It's about choosing thoughts that help you move forward instead of keeping you stuck. It's like pulling back the curtains in a room. It doesn't make the sun appear, but it lets in the light that was already there. Remember what Marcus Aurelius said, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Choose that color wisely. Don't let it be dull and gray when it could be bright with clarity and purpose. Don't wait. Tonight, before you go to sleep, identify one thought that isn't helping you, and replace it with one that gives you strength. Write it in the comments if you want, because putting it into words helps you commit to yourself. And maybe, just maybe, your small change becomes the spark that inspires someone else to do the same. 6. Don't let other people's negativity infect you. Picture this, an army marching toward your city, loud, aggressive, armed. If the gates of your fortress are wide open, it won't take long before they destroy everything inside. But if the walls are guarded, if there's a watchful sentinel the enemy can't get in, your mind works the same way. Every day, an army of other people's emotions approaches you. Complaints, criticism, negativity. And if you're not paying attention, if you don't carefully choose what you let in, those voices will invade your inner space and start ruling your mood. Seneca understood this deeply and wrote it clearly. Surround yourself with those who can make you better, and make sure you do the same for them. This isn't just friendly advice. It's a principle of mental protection. What you allow into your mind shapes the way you think and act. If you're constantly absorbing complaints and pessimism, you'll end up speaking the same way, thinking the same way, and worst of all, believing that voice is your own. Think of that lifelong friend you often go out to dinner with. You barely sit down and the ritual begins. They complain about the waiter taking too long, criticize the menu because it's not like it used to be, and when the food finally arrives, they find a way to say it's not good enough. You try to change the subject, to laugh, to enjoy the evening, but the negativity starts to cling to you like a drop of red wine on a white tablecloth. Small at first, but slowly spreading until it stains everything. You leave that dinner with a full stomach, sure, but also with a heavy mind as if you'd carried some of their complaints away with you. And no, this isn't about cutting yourself off from the world or hiding away. The Stoics didn't avoid society. They lived fully in it. But they knew that if they wanted to maintain their inner peace, they couldn't let everything from the outside in without filters. Marcus Aurelius used the image of the mind as an inner citadel. Nothing could enter it without his permission. You have that same power, the ability to choose what you let in and what you don't. Other people's negativity works like a banquet constantly being served in front of you. Just because someone puts a plate on the table doesn't mean you have to eat it. You can look at it, thank them, even smile, but the choice to bring it to your mouth is yours. The same goes for the words and attitudes that come your way. You don't have to swallow all of them. So how does a Stoic guard their inner fortress in practice? It starts with choosing who you spend your most valuable time with. This isn't about cutting ties with everyone who complains. It's about giving more space to those who lift you up. Look for that person who always leaves you feeling motivated, the friend who actually listens and doesn't just wait for their turn to speak, the one who inspires you with how they face life. Make time for them more often. Surround yourself with their energy. Learn from their habits. Create intentional moments. Plan a lunch with someone you admire. Work out with a partner who pushes you to go a bit further. Text that person who always brings you clarity when you talk. These are small decisions, but each one is a brick that strengthens your inner wall. A Stoic guard doesn't just protect the fortress. They choose who they let inside. You can do the same. Open the door to those who inspire you, and limit access to what drains your strength. That's how you protect your mind without shutting yourself off from the world. Seneca insisted that the true greatness of the wise is being able to keep their serenity even in the middle of chaos. That doesn't mean being cold. It means being the one who decides what gets in. And next time someone tries to pull you into their spiral of complaints, remember, you have two choices. Let yourself be dragged in or stand firm like a guardian at your gate. Now I want you to think of that person, situation, or habit that's been trying to infect you with negativity lately. Don't tell me who or what it is, keep it to yourself. But in the comments, write this phrase: "Today I choose not to be infected. Today I choose to be strong." And if you want, share how you plan to stand firm against those influences. That way, you're not just committing to yourself, you're also inspiring others who are fighting the same battle. It's time to take control of those negative thoughts, because they don't control you anymore, and neither do other people's voices. You're the one who decides whether the army gets in or whether you close the gate and keep your calm. 7. Dare to say enough. Imagine Seneca sitting in front of you, looking you straight in the eye and saying, "If you know something is hurting you and you allow it, you are not living wisely." Or Marcus Aurelius writing in his journal, as he did every night, "What's ridiculous is not falling but staying trapped in the same thing over and over again." The Stoics didn't preach endurance for the sake of it. They preached having the courage to cut off, at the root, what no longer serves you. And here's the thing, how many times in your life have you done the opposite? You tell yourself that putting up with something is a sign of strength, that staying quiet around someone who drains you is the right thing, that enduring it all is patience. But listen closely, that's not patience, that's surrender. Your mind works like an operating system. It can be fast, stable, reliable. But just one virus is enough to make everything go wrong. At first, you barely notice. One program slows down, one tab freezes. You ignore it thinking it's no big deal, until one day the entire system crashes. That's what happens with the things you allow into your life. A relationship that constantly makes you feel small, a draining habit, a thought you've repeated so many times you now believe it. If you don't cut it off at the source, it takes over everything. Picture this: that family member who always asks for favors but never with gratitude. They lace their words with guilt. If you really loved me, you'd do it. You're always too busy for others, but never for me. No one else can help me, only you. Eventually, you give in and say yes even though your blood's boiling inside. And the worst part isn't even the time you gave up. It's the aftermath. That voice in your head, playing their lines on repeat, as if they were true. You start to think you're selfish, that you're not doing enough, that you're always letting people down. Now imagine that for the first time you respond with firmness. I can't today and I'm not going to. Not out of anger, but out of clarity. That one word, enough, breaks the chain. Suddenly, their guilt-laced words no longer echo in your mind. What used to weigh you down becomes proof of your strength. In that moment, you realize that saying no doesn't take anything from you. It gives you everything back. Your peace, your time, your dignity. I've lived it myself. For years, I kept someone in my life who drained me. We'd known each other for ages, and that made me justify everything. The subtle criticism, the harsh jokes, that sinking feeling every time we talked. I used to think, he's my friend. I don't want to lose him. But one day, after yet another conversation that left me feeling worthless, I paused, and I asked myself the question that changed everything. How much longer am I going to let this voice be part of my life? It was hard to admit, but the hardest part was realizing how long I'd stayed silent. I learned something Seneca always said. The wise man is content with his own soul, and so does not need the approval of others. Every time you keep something in your life that you know is harming you, you're handing over that approval to something external. You're not taking care of yourself. You're sabotaging yourself. Cutting something off doesn't mean doing it with rage. It means doing it with clarity. Just like a technician cleans out a system infected with malware, you clean out your life from what no longer serves you. It's not enough to close the window. You have to uninstall the program that's causing the error. That might mean distancing yourself from someone, changing a habit, or confronting a thought until you remove it from your daily life. Do a mental inventory. Ask yourself, what situations, people, or thoughts always leave me feeling worse than before? If you leave every meeting with someone feeling drained, observe what's happening there. If you repeat a certain phrase in your mind and it always sinks you deeper, take note. That's your sign. It's time to cut it off. Then comes the decision. It doesn't have to be dramatic, but it does have to be firm. You can reduce the time you spend with that person. Mute a group chat. Set boundaries for when and how you consume information. Replace a toxic, repeated thought with a clear response. This doesn't define me. It's not magic, it's daily discipline. And most importantly, stand by your decision. The real act of cutting off doesn't happen when you think it. It happens when you stick to it. There will be moments when you want to go back because what's familiar always pulls at you. But that's when you need to remember what Marcus Aurelius said. What you choose to think and allow inside of you ends up shaping who you are. If you let it back in, the virus returns. But if you hold your ground, your system stays clean. My friend, saying enough is not selfish, it's self-respect. Yes, it might hurt, but it's the only way to stop feeding the thoughts that weaken you. Every time you cut off something that doesn't serve you, you create space to turn your negative thoughts into strength. And now I want to invite you to declare it. In the comments, write this phrase: today, I turn my negative thoughts into strength. By putting it into words, you're not just committing to yourself, you're also inspiring someone else to take that same step. 8. Don't let stress own you. Stress is like a storm that starts with a single small cloud on the horizon. It looks harmless, just a tiny detail in the sky. But if you don't pay attention, within hours the wind picks up, the thunder rolls in, and the storm covers everything. That's exactly how stress works in your life. It starts with something small, an unanswered email, a missed call, a task you didn't finish. And before you realize it, your whole mind is clouded. And inside that storm, negative thoughts grow stronger than ever. The Stoics knew this well. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Remember, you are not disturbed by events, but by your judgment of them." Meaning, it's not the storm itself that breaks you, but how you choose to face it. If you let yourself be pulled by every cloud, you'll live in a constant state of alarm. But if you remember the storm isn't eternal, and that you can choose how to respond, you start taking the power back. Let me walk you through an ordinary day. The alarm goes off and your mind is already packed with to-dos, calls to make, work, unread messages, family commitments. You haven't even gotten out of bed, and that voice already whispers, "You're not going to be able to handle all this." You rush out, get stuck in traffic and think, "Why does this always happen to me?" You get to work, and your boss throws another task on the never-ending pile. You feel like someone's tightening a rope inside you, pulling it harder and harder. That tension is where thoughts like, "I'm exhausted, everything's going wrong, and nothing is ever enough," start to take root. Epictetus explained it simply. The key isn't to eliminate difficulties, it's to focus on what's within your control. You can't control traffic, but you can control your reaction. You can't decide how many tasks you're given, but you can decide how you prioritize. Stress grows when you try to hold everything. It shrinks when you choose to focus on what really matters. So, how do you put that into practice? Start by opening your Notes app or your reminders and dumping out every task swirling in your head. Don't overthink it, just write it all down. Then pick just 3 things that actually matter today. Write them at the top. 1, 2, 3. Don't move on to anything else until those are done. If you finish more, great. If not, your day still had purpose. This technique, used by creators and entrepreneurs like Ali Abdaal, isn't just about productivity. It's about mental clarity. It tells your brain it doesn't have to carry 100 things, just 3. There's another powerful tool: silence. As simple as stopping for a few minutes during your day to breathe. No phone, no distractions, no one needing anything from you. Marcus Aurelius found that space in his journals. You can find it in a short walk, a mindful pause, or even just by closing your eyes and taking a few deep breaths. It's like loosening the rope before it snaps. And remember this, you don't have to do it all alone. Pride often feeds stress. We think asking for help is weakness, when in reality it's strength. Delegating, sharing responsibility, or even saying "I can't right now" is the fastest way to stop a drizzle from becoming a downpour. Seneca warned that chasing too many things leads to losing your whole life, and that's what unchecked stress does. It steals your present, makes it impossible to enjoy what you've already achieved, and leaves the door wide open for negative thoughts to take over like they own the place. But when you learn to let go, to prioritize, and to create moments of stillness, the storm might still rage outside, but you're no longer soaked by it. My friend, I know you can't eliminate all stress from your life. That's not the goal. The goal is to master it so it doesn't master you. Just like a sailor learns to navigate high waves without capsizing, you can learn to move through your days without letting that inner tension control your fate. The key is to stop confusing productivity with slavery, or patience with silently enduring what's breaking you from the inside. And if lately your mind feels like your worst enemy, like every thought is working against you, then don't stop here. Watch the video that's on screen right now. It'll show you exactly what happens when you lose control, and how to take it back before it's too late. My friend, saying enough is not selfish, it's self-respect. Yes, it might hurt, but it's the only way to stop feeding the thoughts that weaken you. Every time you cut off something that doesn't serve you, you create space to turn your negative thoughts into strength. And now I want to invite you to declare it. In the comments, write this phrase: "Today, I turn my negative thoughts into strength." By putting it into words, you're not just committing to yourself, you're also inspiring someone else to take that same step. 9. No one is invincible, not even you. It's said that when Epictetus was still a slave, he endured one of the most humiliating moments of his life. His master, cruel and capricious, used to test him just for amusement. One day, while forcing him to endure unbearable pain, Epictetus didn't scream or beg. He simply said, "You've been warned, and now my leg will break." And it did. His body was broken, but not his spirit. You'd think he withdrew into silence and pain, right? But he didn't. Quite the opposite. He reached out to those around him, shared what he had lived through, and turned that experience into something others could learn from. He didn't just grit his teeth and endure. He chose to speak, reflect, and teach. And in that act, he found relief because expressing what he felt meant he no longer had to carry it alone. Dialogue with his students became his way of healing, and teaching was the bridge that turned personal pain into shared wisdom. See what that means? Even someone as resilient as Epictetus knew he couldn't carry everything on his own. His strength didn't come from isolation, but from knowing how to lean on others to transform his pain into understanding. And if someone who lived in chains knew how to open up and accept help, then why do you still believe you have to handle everything in silence? This is the mistake many of us make. We think strength means doing it all without help, as if asking for support were some kind of weakness. We convince ourselves we have to carry it all: work, family, problems, expectations. And when we fall short, the harshest thoughts show up. I should have been able to do this alone. I'm a failure. I'm not enough. But that's not true, my friend. You're not built to carry the entire world on your shoulders. No one is. Think about it. Even Seneca needed to write to Lucilius in his letters, so why do we think we can do this alone? Seneca shared fears, doubts, and lessons. That was his way of not carrying the weight of his mind alone. The Stoics understood that real strength isn't isolation. It's the wisdom to recognize when you need others. Imagine you're going through financial trouble. Bills are stacking up on the table, your card gets declined at the grocery store, and every time you check the mail, you're afraid to see more red numbers. You don't know how to fix it, but instead of asking for help, you convince yourself you'll manage in silence. When someone close asks how you're doing, you answer automatically, "I'm fine, don't worry." But the truth inside, you can't sleep, you don't enjoy anything, and your mind is filled with dark thoughts. You keep repeating, "I'm a failure. I should handle this on my own. If I say something, they'll think I'm weak." And there's the trap. Pride disguises itself as strength when in reality it's pulling you under. But what if you dared to ask for help? Chances are, people won't see you as weak. They'll see you as human. Asking for support doesn't make you less. It makes you more real, more trustworthy. And often the other person needed that opportunity to show up for you too. So here's where you start. Begin with something simple. If you've been carrying a problem that's weighing you down, stop trying to solve it alone inside your head. Find someone you trust and talk to them. They don't have to fix it. Sometimes just being heard is enough. Send a message to a friend, speak to your partner, ask for advice from a coworker. These small moments of vulnerability lift a huge weight. Another useful practice? Ask yourself this: if my best friend were in my shoes, would I tell them to deal with it alone or to reach out for help? The answer is obvious, right? Then why don't you apply it to yourself? My friend, letting yourself be helped doesn't take away your strength. It multiplies it. Because no matter how tough you are, even superheroes have a team behind them. Do you really think Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire alone? That Seneca found peace without his letters to Lucilius? Even Epictetus, with all his suffering, found healing by sharing his wisdom with others. Now I have a challenge for you. Today, don't try to be invincible. Think of one area in your life where you're forcing yourself to carry it all. Don't tell me what it is. Just write this in the comments. Today I choose to let myself be helped. That will be your reminder that strength isn't in enduring everything, but in opening the door to others. No one is invincible, not even you. And once you accept that, your negative thoughts lose their most powerful weapon: isolation. 10. Choose a goal and go after it. Have you ever felt trapped in an endless routine? Like your days were just carbon copies of each other? Have you woken up in the morning without really knowing why? Do you notice how, when you don't have something clear to walk toward, your mind becomes an open field for negative thoughts to take over? The Stoics saw this from the very beginning. Life needs direction. Marcus Aurelius wrote it plainly: "The man who does not know where he is going will never find peace." Having goals is like building a house. At first, all you see is an empty plot of land, and the size of the project might feel overwhelming. But no one builds a house in a day. You lay one brick, then another, and slowly what once seemed impossible starts to take shape. The same goes for you. Your goal doesn't have to be finished tomorrow. You just need to start laying the first brick today. And here's the key. Every time you do, your thoughts start to shift. You stop hearing "I can't" or "I'm never going to make it," and start hearing something different. Today, I made progress. I'm closer than I was yesterday. When you have goals, your thoughts stop being your enemies and become your allies. Let me tell you about my friend Marta. She wanted to study and work at the same time, but never had a routine or a clear target. She would say, "I want to do everything, but I don't know where to start." So the days passed, some time browsing courses, some time thinking about applying for jobs, and in the end she didn't move forward. And of course, every time she felt stuck, the same thoughts crept in. "I'm a mess. I'm wasting time. I'll never make it." One day we talked about it, and I told her something simple. What you're missing isn't motivation, it's direction. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote that good thoughts aren't enough. You have to aim them at something that actually matters. So Marta set a clear goal: study for 1 hour a day and send out 2 job applications per week. Nothing massive, nothing unreachable. But that small structure gave her a path, and once she had a path, the negativity stopped running the show. If you see yourself in that story, here's something you can start doing today. Before bed, open the Notes app on your phone and write down 3 things you want to accomplish tomorrow. They don't have to be big. One might be sending that email you've been avoiding for weeks. Another might be a 15-minute run. Another could be reading 1 chapter of the book you're studying. Write them down, number them, and when you wake up, focus on those 3 things before the chaos of the day pulls your energy away. This simple technique gives you direction, and with it, peace. Ali Abdaal and other productivity thinkers say it often: clarity written on a piece of paper changes your mind more than 1,000 vague thoughts. And let's be honest, do you really think you'll reach your goals without setbacks? Of course not. Challenges will come. They always do. The Stoics knew this, and that's why they talked about prohairesis, your inner power to choose what's within your control and what's not. Picture yourself on a boat. The sea gets rough, waves crash, the wind howls. What do? Panic and spin the wheel in every direction? Or keep your eyes fixed on the lighthouse in the distance? That's the difference between getting lost in the storm or moving through it with purpose. Your goal is that lighthouse. The sea may be rough. The journey might take longer than you thought. You might get wet. You might get tired. But as long as that point on the horizon is there, you'll never truly be adrift. And that certainty that you're moving in the right direction is what turns "I can't take this anymore" into "I can keep going a little longer." From negativity, you move into strength. From chaos into calm. Don't forget, negative thoughts feed on emptiness, on that feeling that nothing matters. But when you have a goal, even a small one, your mind focuses. And in that focus, the negativity fades into background noise. The Stoics never believed life would be easy, but they did believe it should have purpose. Yours begins the moment you choose a goal and start moving toward it, no matter how big or small it seems. That's the hammer that breaks the chains of negative thought. My friend, stay alert, because here comes the final piece. If there's one thing that can make everything else you've learned work or make it all fall apart, it's the goals you choose. And that's why before we finish, there's one more thing you need to hear. 11. What shakes you strengthens you. You've been there. You wake up determined to have a good day, and within the first hour, everything seems to fall apart. You spill coffee on your shirt, you're late to work, Someone throws a rude comment at you, and to top it off, an unexpected problem shows up and drains your energy. In those moments, your mind doesn't take long to switch on the loudspeaker of negativity. There's no point in trying. Everything's against me. Today just isn't my day. And the worst part is, if you give those thoughts space, they end up becoming your truth. The Stoics already knew this. Life was never going to make it easy for you. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Every day you'll meet with people who are intrusive, ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, and selfish." He wasn't complaining. He was preparing himself. It was a reminder that what matters is not avoiding the blows of life, but staying grounded when they come. And that kind of strength is exactly what you need to cultivate too. One powerful example is Musonius Rufus, a lesser-known Stoic teacher, often overshadowed by Epictetus or Seneca. He was exiled several times for his ideas and unwavering character. They took his position, pushed him out of his city, tried to silence him, but instead of giving in, he kept teaching wherever he was. He didn't let adversity define him. He turned it into a classroom. Musonius showed that real strength isn't never falling. It's staying on your feet even when everything else has been stripped away. Now think about what happens when you don't hold that strength. Every obstacle turns into a mountain. Every mistake feels like a sentence. You drown in thoughts like, "I can't," "It's over," and that's where you lose the battle, before it even begins. Being steady doesn't mean there's no storm. It means you don't let the storm put out your light. So how can you use those moments to grow stronger? Think about that kind of day when everything seems to go wrong. You spill your coffee, you're late, your boss piles on pressure, and on top of that, you argue at home. Instead of letting it all sweep you away, pause. Grab your phone or a notebook and write down, right then, just 3 things that truly depend on you. It could be showing up on time for your next meeting, choosing to respond calmly instead of snapping, or completing a task you've been avoiding. Everything else, the traffic, someone else's mood, the unexpected, isn't up to you. When you see what is in your control written down, the chaos loses power. It's no longer a massive beast. It's just a few manageable pieces. Here's another helpful tool. Take a conscious pause. When you feel the tension building, set a 5-minute timer on your phone and just breathe. Don't scroll, don't reply to messages, don't distract yourself. Just breathe. Let your mind cool down. The Stoics did this differently. Marcus Aurelius would retreat and write a few lines in his journal. You have your own space. It could be a notebook, a note on your phone, or even just looking out the window for a moment. That small act reminds you, you are bigger than the moment you're going through. And here's a third tool. Use power phrases as a shield. Keep 2 or 3 ready that bring you back to center. This obstacle is the way. This too shall pass. What's under my control, no one can take from me. Write them on a card, save them on your phone, or repeat them to yourself when chaos tries to sneak in. They're not just words. They're anchors that keep your mind aligned with the strength you need. My friend, being steady doesn't mean you won't shake. You're going to feel fear, exhaustion, frustration. But strength means that even with all that, you choose to stay upright. That you're not defined by the waves that hit you, but by the light you keep burning through it all. Let me ask you this. How many times have you let one bad moment pull you under and convince you that all is lost? Don't fall for that trap again. Starting today, you can begin to build that steadiness. You don't have to change the world. Just withstand the hit in front of you. Step by step, blow by blow, your character becomes stronger. Stay steady, no matter what. That is the true victory over negative thoughts. What matters most isn't making your negative thoughts disappear. It's learning to use them as fuel. Every time that voice shows up saying, "You can't," remember, that's your moment to prove it wrong. Turn that doubt into action, that criticism into motivation, and that fear into courage. And now I want you to write it down so it doesn't stay just in your head. Drop this in the comments. My thoughts are my strength. Reaching the end of this video is no accident. It means something in you wants to grow. And that already sets you apart from most. Subscribe and share this video with someone who needs it. That simple gesture helps us keep spreading this message of growth. On screen, you'll find a playlist to go even deeper. Click and let's keep learning together.